Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This time it's part 2 of my X-Men villains collection. Again, this series is meant to help some of you out there find some of these lesser known X-villains, and of course we have the well-known ones too. But a lot of these books can be found probably very cheap in dollar bins or $5 bins, or depending on the grade, of course, but even high-grade dollar bin books would probably cost you like, what, maybe 50 bucks. Nothing, I mean, really high grade. I'm not talking like 8.0s. So, I have another pile here, and let's get started. Starting off with Wolverine number 50. This is the first appearance of Shiva. This book, I found this book in a dollar bin. I'm sure you could find this in a dollar bin, so it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get it. But as when it comes to villains, it was the first appearance of Shiva. Here we have another one that's probably dollar bin material. I've had this. I have several copies of this. I just came across them. Dollar bins, 25-cent bins, 50-cent bins. This is the first appearance of the Executioner. X-Men Annual number 17. So here you go, another cheap, inexpensive, not big, high-profile villain, but still a villain. In the X-Men universe, nonetheless. Moving along, here we have Uncanny XMen number 428. The significance when it comes to X-villains is that this is the first appearance of Nightcrawler's father, Azazel, who appeared in the, I guess, rebooted series, X-Men First Class. He was a character in that, and then you found out that that character was killed off by Days of Future Past, the second part of that trilogy. Well, so far trilogy. But yeah, I found this again in a dollar bin, so you could find it really cheap. There's no reason for that book to be expensive, or any of these, or any of the first few books I've showed, really. Here we go. XFactor 1, another $5, but classic $5 bin book. This is the first appearance of Cameron Hodge. And again, not a villain, but I believe this is also the first appearance of Rusty Collins, who took center stage in Deadpool 2 in that movie. So it's another little bonus in this, so pretty cool. Yeah, XFactor, XFactor 1, I remember there was a point where it was becoming a $10 book, and then I think it slipped back to being a $5 book. Yeah, here we have. I bought this right off the rack. Do I still have the original? No. I took the original board out. I should have, since it's over 25 years. But man, I used to remember these. Around this time, they were doing this with all the X books. Uncanny XMen 304, Wolverine, I believe Excalibur, XFactor, X-Force, and all that. But that classic hologram cover, or another one of those big things that they tried to get people to buy books with in the early 90s. Anyway, this is the first appearance of Exodus, one of Magneto's acolyte followers. He makes his debut in this. I believe it's Exodus. Wait, now that I'm thinking about it, is it Exodus or is it Fabian Cortez? You might want to correct me. I apologize for that error. I might be wrong on that. It may not be Exodus. It might be somebody else. I might be getting him confused with somebody else. But if I am, correct me in the comments. But still a first appearance nonetheless of an X-Men bad guy. Here's one that I think goes largely unnoticed, and it's another dollar bin book. Uncanny XMen 281. Now, this wasn't a dollar bin book when I first bought it years ago. I think this was like a $10, $15 book back in the early 90s because of its association with Bishop. This is the first appearance of Trevor Fitzroy, who was trying to escape Bishop, and Bishop made his first full appearance in the next issue. Bishop makes a cameo in this in 281. But now, man, this is just a flat-out dollar bin book. Again, there's no reason why this book should be $10 or $15 unless you have a 9.8 graded. Then it will probably be more than $10 or $15. But still, you can find high-grade copies of this scattered in dollar bins all over the place. So, first, Trevor Fitzroy. Here's another probably $1.50 bin book. XFactor 75. This is the return of Mr. Sinister because he was killed off in or supposedly killed off. Obviously, he wasn't in XFactor 39. But this is the first appearance of the Nasty Boys, who did make their debut in the Uncanny X-Men animated series. So pretty cool. Here's another one that I had from way back in '93. Long Shot number 3. This is the first appearance of Mojo. I think Mojo doesn't get enough love. I like Mojo. He's kind of like I have to admit, though, he is kind of ridiculous and so forth. But he's very unique looking. He's really, really disgusting looking. You would think that he wouldn't be as ridiculous as he's been portrayed in some of the books and on the cartoon. But he makes his debut in Long Shot number 3. Moving along. Now, this is a bigger book. You're not going to find this in a dollar bin. And if you do find it in a dollar bin, I recommend you buy it. Uncanny X-Men 129. Yes, this is the debut of Kitty Pryde, right? She's not a bad guy. But it's also the debut of the White Queen. I mean, well, Emma Frost. She wasn't, I don't believe she was called the White Queen at this point. But it's the debut of Emma Frost. I think now she's been a villain for many years, and she was in that X-Men First Class movie. I think now she's considered a good guy. I think didn't she take over the X-Men for a period of time and became Cyclops' lover? I don't know what the current story for Emma Frost is, whether she's still a good guy or a good girl, whatever, or a villain. But she makes her debut in this book. And this book, what kind of copy do I have? I have like a 9.0, so that's probably going to run you some decent, what is it, maybe $100 or something like that, $80, I think. I don't know. I didn't check the price for it, but it might run you a little bit more. But this is one of the bigger ones for you to get. Not super big, but one of the bigger ones. Okay, here we go. One of my favorite villains of all time. Mr. Sinister makes his debut here. He was mentioned in previous issues, I believe. The lead up to Mr. Sinister, I forget which issue. He was responsible for the Marauders, wiping out the Morlocks and so forth. And he makes his debut on the very first page of this book. Pretty in your face. Pretty scary looking character too. I never liked the cape that he wore. I think it was kind of ridiculous. Hopefully, if we ever see him in a movie or anything like that, he won't be wearing a cape that looks like Venetian blinds. But definitely a cool character. This book, it goes through periods. Sometimes it's a $20 book. Sometimes it's a $40 book. Sometimes it's a $30 book. Regardless, it's not really that expensive. But it's definitely a book worth getting. I have 2 copies of it. Okay, now we're going to get into some single-digit X-Men books. We got 2 of them here for this video before we close up. X-Men number 8. First appearance of Unis the Untouchable. Very funny name. But a villain who associated with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and has been an early pest to the first X-Men team in the early 60s and so forth. So he makes his debut in this. I don't think it's a terribly expensive issue. What grade is this? This is like a 5.5, so that might run you like, I don't know, $100, maybe $120. Yeah, so it's not, I don't think, a big deal, but it is first appearance. And the last one for this haul, this one is going to be a pricey book indeed. And we're talking about X-Men number 4, the first appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It's the first Mastermind, the first Toad. I don't know. Is it the first appearance of Asteroid M? I don't know. Or is that the next issue? I don't remember. But it's also the second appearance of Magneto. So that's a big deal too. And it's a big book. And it's also the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So it has a lot going on. They first appeared as villains, Magneto's children and so forth. And they eventually became Avengers. And we all know the Scarlet Witch. She's a popular Avenger right now, as always was in the comics and, of course, in the movies too. So she makes her debut in this book. So it's a pretty expensive book. My copy's a 4.0, so I think that's like, what, $400 maybe? I think it's like a $100 a point up into a certain grade. I don't know which grade, but it'll run you some money. It's definitely a good book to get. Not just because like it's the first appearance of the Brotherhood, but it's also the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch, and that's a real popular character and remains to be a popular character. So if you're looking to get some good X-Men books, but also you like the books that sort of cross over into other series like the Avengers and stuff like that, this would make an excellent book to get. So thank you all for watching. I'll probably get a release, maybe 2 or 3 more of these. I don't know when. Of course, X-Men #1 is going to be in one of the videos. We're eventually going to get to that because it's the first appearance of Magneto. I'm going to do the Vanisher and all that stuff. But I want to try to find some more affordable X-Men villain books to showcase. Until then, thank you for watching, everybody.